Please stop all that crying. I want to tell you guys something. I am a female, and I can tell you something that I cannot stand is when women use their tears to get over. And men, you're going to be disarmed by this. One or two things will happen where you will be at an imbalance. You're either extremely, you'll be disarmed completely. And by that, I mean she'll just cry and she's going to get away with whatever. Okay. And you believe whatever this woman will say, this person will say when they're crying. Or the other thing, you have been with around so many females that have played those games and been around so much manipulation that your heart have grown cold. So when a woman is really crying and really upset, you will ignore her and you will think that she's being manipulative, which is actually a bad thing, right? It's a terrible thing for her, especially if she's a woman that doesn't really cry. I remember this happened to me. I'm not a person that cry a lot. I just don't cry all the time, okay? But when I do, it's like it's for me to cry. This is really serious. Whatever has happened is really serious, or I'm really feeling this. So I remember talking about a matter with someone, and they took, as I ended up kind of breaking down and crying, or tearfully saying the rest of whatever I had to say, they were like so indifferent. And they were like, yeah, okay, I'll think about it. In this cold manner. And at that point, I was like, okay. I remember thinking to myself as I felt like the person had just thrown cold water on me. And the situation that I was talking to them about was very serious, very near, very dear. And it involved, a family member. It was very serious, the situation. And I was talking to this person about it and ended up, crying. And they just was indifferent. And I just remember that moment. I just thought, I will never again put myself in this position with this person where they'll have had that. And when I tell you that I changed, I changed. And I wasn't a Christian. So the sky was the limit at that point. I was like, there was no sort of, there was nothing in me. There was no discretion and discernment. That person did that. I mean, I didn't do it. Trust me, when I'm done with you, I'm done with you. At that point, I was just done with that individual. And I was like, never again. And I just made a decision in my mind that I'm just not going to care. And that was what it was. I'm just not going to care anymore. And I took that to the next level of not caring. Okay. And it was just being in a position of being vulnerable. And so I just became completely indifferent, didn't care about what they felt, didn't care about anything like that. I wasn't doing anything like vindictive, trying to hurt them, get them back. It wasn't like that. But everything in me that cared about Karen didn't care. All right. And that was that. So why I gave you that whole big long story is because I can understand how, what I'm saying, if you've been around people that have manipulated you, and then when someone is really crying, as a man, you may think, yeah, right. You even think that as a female, right? We have to be that way as females too. But females, we can just pick up on another female. It's not even like you can fool us. We know when you're crying. We know when a woman is just being manipulating. That's why females don't cry to other females. A female employee can go to her boss and cry, but very rarely is she going to cry in front of her female boss, because you can't. The same way she can't go to her female supervisor and say, oh, I'm on my cycle, I can't work today, because that female employer is probably gonna be like, well, so am I, and I'm at work today. So it can cause you to become hard. So you have to really be careful, guys, men, when you meet these females, that you're not to one extreme to the next. Now, you may think, well, no, it's actually safer for me to just not care, but you'll be hurting other people in the process. And even though you may feel like it doesn't matter, it does, because you're always planting a seed. And what you do to other people is going to come back to you. How you treat people is going to come back to you. The way you treat someone's daughter, the way you treat someone's sister, the way you treat someone's child is going to come back to you. The way you treat God's creation is going to come back to you. Whether they're the worst person or the ugliest person, the meanest person, what you choose to do to individuals, especially people who have not hurt you, it's going to come back to you. So you want to have the wisdom to not just fall for the okie doke or be so darkened within yourself that you're like, I don't care. Okay. Because sometimes, what if that person's on their last moments of sanity or feeling like they want to live? So let's get to the point. Let me finish that. So you want to make sure you just don't do things and be indifferent where someone is crying and they really need help. You may not be able to help them, but maybe you can call 911. Maybe you can send them, look, you need to go here, or let someone know, this person just said this to me. I don't know if they're serious or not, but I just want you to know. That's going to be better than you just being indifferent and maybe pushing someone over the edge. And then now you're going, of course, you're going to harden your heart again to think, oh, well, she should have said something. Women are weaponizing their tears. There's a group of women, especially nowadays, that's running this game. And what they're doing is they're doing a lot of manipulating things. And when you're catching on to them and when you're figuring them out, they start to cry. They start to cry so that you or that judge or whoever it is will be thrown off. They will be more focused on them crying, and then you lose all reasoning. You forget about what the matter at hand is, and you just give in to their tears. Think about in the book of Solomon, there were two women that came to Solomon. I imagine they were both crying and saying, this baby, there's two women. Remember, they both had children. And during the night, one lady had smothered her baby by accident. She rolled over, slept on top of her baby. Her baby died. She went and switched out with the woman with a live baby and kept her baby. The mother of the live baby recognizes that, hey, this is not my baby. Now they're going before King Solomon. And I imagine they're crying and emotional and everything. But he was not moved by that. As a matter of fact, he was like, somebody get me a sword. Let me cut this baby in half. You get half, you get half. And in that moment, the real mother was saying, no, let her have him. And then the mother who had lied was saying, no, yeah, let's cut the baby in half. And that's how Solomon was able to recognize who was the actual mother and who wasn't. What did he use? He used wisdom. He was not using tears. And so he had enough wisdom to be able to see who was before him and realize one of these women are lying. He knew that one of these individuals are lying. But I'm not going to be following, I'm not about to be sitting here following the narrative of emotions, but rather I'm going to get to the bottom of it. And that's really something, gentlemen, that you have to develop. Every human being has a keen sense of knowing. Every human being has a keen sense of when something's just not right. And especially men, and you say you're found the Lord, when you're really a man that is praying and in your word, and you're not getting yourself lost with all your impulses and feelings, you're going to be able to see it very clearly. Because there are women who just be crying just to get their own way. Women that's doing vindictive and hateful things, and then to the husband or to the father of a child, or not doing the things that they should do by the child, but they will go and cry before a judge. They'll go and cry before people. There are women that will go and cry before a church and have everybody believing that she's in this dire situation and in need of this and in need of that, and this is what's going on at home. And it's a lie. Just because her husband is more quiet, because he's less vocal, everyone believes him. Oh, he's not a Christian, so he's got to be a bad guy. There are mothers who cry too, and they are lying. They're not telling the truth. Okay? Their example, 2 mothers crying over a child. One had smothered her child, but went to take somebody else's child and crying like, this is my baby. Lying on their children, right? They're mothers that will cry and tell people things about their children, and they're lying, and everybody's going to believe. But guys, we have to use wisdom. Another female come up to us crying and telling us all these things, yeah, you don't want to immediately want to be picking away at her, but you have to ask God to give you discernment to know what's true, what's false. There are times what she's saying is true, but you shouldn't just always believe that everything she's saying is the truth. Because there's some women that tell lies. There are women who lie and they manipulate and they use their feminine wiles to get over, specifically their tears. They'll cry to get their own way with you. When you're catching them, you're about to catch them in something, or you discover something about them, they'll cry. They'll cry and tell you that, oh no, I didn't want to talk to this guy. He's the one that came on to me. They'll cry, no, how could you believe that I would do something like that? They'll cry, oh, your mom is lying. They'll cry, your brother's lying. Cry, your sister's lying. They're all lying. But the truth of the matter is, if you sit back and pull yourself from the emotions and watch their character and watch their track record and really pay attention to the things that they're saying to you and how they're talking to you. Pay attention to the things they try to get you upset about. Do they try to incite you? Do they try to put you against other people? Do they try to make you feel bad about yourself? Do they try to act as if they're better than you? Do they feel like because they've been to college and you have not, then they're better? Do they do little things like that? You're going to know a lot about their character and how they deal with you and how they talk to you and how they treat other people. Sometimes they're treating you very nicely, but how they treat people is going to tell you a lot about themselves. Don't let the tears fool you. And it's amazing to me the things that women are getting away with these days. Women can talk crazy to men and say whatever they want to do, and they're just going to get away with that. If a man do it, oh my God, she's a misogynist, she's this and this. Women could go around hitting men, scratching them up, doing all this stuff. And if a guy so much as raises his voice or anything, he's raising his hand trying to get you off of him, and he's abusive. It is ridiculous. Guys, there is a wicked group of women that's on the rise in these days, in these times. And what they do is a lot of them be playing a feminist role too. A lot of them running around in the woke groups. I'm not saying all feminists do this. Remember this, I just said it. I'm not saying all feminists behave this way, nor all woke people behave this way. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying all feminists behave this way and all people in the woke organizations behave this way, but there are quite a few that do. The ones that have used their feminine roles and feminine wiles to get over, they do. They play strong in one aspect, but then when they want to get over, they play damsel in distress. Meaning, look, you can't have both. You cannot have both. Okay? So it's very annoying because, number one, it makes it bad for the rest of us who are not thinking that way. It's also annoying because then you'll have people that's thinking we're this way, and then you have this other group, other females, that's also against you. So you're just getting it from both sides. And guys, I would just advise you to choose wisely. Choose wisely. Choose wisely. You know, sometimes as women, we can make mistakes. There are things that we could do when we were younger, wasn't thinking, impulsive. things happen, but it's time to grow up. You're a whole grown, rustic woman, okay? These behaviors of crying to get your way, it is childish and it's manipulative. And men teach your boys these things. Women teach your son these things. I'm sure teaching my sons that. My oldest son know that already. I'm teaching my younger son. I'm teaching my daughter these things. It's not saying that women cannot be vulnerable and cannot shed your tears, but don't waste your tears. Don't cry for every little thing. If you're always crying for everything, people will not take you seriously. Let it be that when you cry, when your tears are shed, it is like they know that this is serious and you're not wasting your tears, because tears is a sort of tears represent hurt, pain, help. When you need help, vulnerability. It could also be happiness. But you just, whatever your emotion, whatever that emotion is, you want it to be taken seriously. You don't want it to be wasted. And so it's a soul searching thing, women. You have to dig deep and find out what made me become this way and deal with that. And it's going to take counseling. You got to be responsible. Get the counseling. You need to do self-reflection. And you need to pray and ask God to help you. Because there are a lot of people who are playing these games. Women, you're playing games. Women, you're going to court and you're lying and you're crying, using your tears as weapons to cause someone to lose their children, to lose visitation, to lose visitation right, to lose custody of their children, losing their jobs, losing their livelihood because you're lying. Some of you are lying and saying things that's not true. And remember, you may get away with it at that moment, but there is always an unseen audience. What you sow, you're going to reap. You sow one apple seed, you're going to get a tree with a whole lot of apples that's going to grow from season to season. And it's the same thing when you may get the satisfaction right now of getting over. You may get the satisfaction now of people believing this man did abused you in whatever way, or he's not a good father, or whatever the situation is, or your supervisor is this bad person, when in fact you're lying. You cried and you disarmed the judge and you got a judgment and you got a ruling that was based on you manipulating them, and you were so convincing, but it's always going to come back to you. Always know that you will never, ever, ever get away with malicious doings. You'll never ever get away with doing things, being vindictive, being malicious, being devious. At the moment and at the time, it gives you immediate results. But understand, as the Bible talks about, the avenger that seeks you and will find you in time. Believe me, what you sow, you're gonna reap. What you sow, you're gonna reap. You keep crying and making people believe you. You cry and you get your way with your children. You cry and everybody believe your lies. You cry and everybody believes this is a horrible man. You cry and people believe that your friend is the one that betrayed you. You weren't the one that did your friend wrong. You cry and people believe you, and especially if you're cute and you're pretty. You have some dimples and you crying on top of that. Oh, yes, you're getting away with a lot, but understand that you have an open tab. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we got to wise up. We have to use discernment. Yes, we're to care for people. Yes, there's a natural inclination to want to help someone who's crying. I'm not saying we're supposed to first be all steel-hearted, but in everything, even when you're helping someone, in the back of your mind, you must always keep it open to, is this the whole truth? If it is, I'm glad I'm able to help. And if not, now you want to be able to ensure that you don't get ensnared and caught up in deception and any sort of further entanglements with this individual. And you want to be able to tell them, listen, get yourself together. I know this is not right. I know this is not true. Don't entertain liars, guys. And if anything, just separate yourself, because sometimes talking to them makes no sense. But young men, gentlemen, tears are not always genuine. And you want to be able to know the difference between the two, where you help someone who needs help, and you can also remove yourself to a person who is a Jezebel, who's just a devious woman trying to get her way. All right, guys, peace.